The Muslims were thus charged to help the oppressed people of the world. History testifies to the fact that the early Muslims rescued the populations of Syria, Egypt and Spain from a reign of tyranny, Syria rescued from Byzantine Empire. Following the death of Prophet Muhammad in the reign of the second Caliph, Umar bin Khattab, the Muslim armies began liberating the people of Syria from the Byzantines, Romans. The Christians of Syria were divided into many different denominations, such as Monophysites, Jacobites, and Nestorians. Almost all of them were facing severe persecution at the hands of the ruling Byzantine Church. Dionysius of Tel Mahar, a Jacobite patriarch from 818 to 845 CE, stated in his chronicle that the Byzantine Emperor Heraclius sent an army to expel the Muslims out of Syria and recapture the land. The Muslim forces decided to withdraw from Syria's cities in order to fight an open pitch battle with the Byzantines. Whilst pulling back, the Muslims decided, out of fairness, to refund the money which they had taken as a tribute from the Syrian Christian. Abu Ubaidah whom Umar had put in command of the Arabs ordered Habib to return to the Emessenes the tribute which he had exacted from them. With this message, we are both bound by our mutual oaths. Now we are going to do battle with the Romans if we return. This tribute is ours, but if we are defeated and do not return, we are absolved of our oaths. This was an unprecedented demonstration of honesty and justice. The non-Muslims paid a poll tax to the Islamic State so that their lives, religion, and property were protected under the rule of the Muslims. However, in this case, the Muslims knew that they might be unable to protect the Christians of Syria due to an imminent attack by Heraclius. Therefore, it was not fair to keep the money if they couldn't protect the masses. Also, one must note that this was taking place in 7th century Syria, where plunder, robbery, and injustice were a common occurrence. The Syrians were shocked by the Muslims' merciful conduct. Another point worth mentioning is that this incident is narrated by a 9th century Christian source, which testifies that the Muslims did not abuse power and they did not betray the trust that the Christians had bestowed upon them. Why did the Muslims return such big sums to the Christians? Why didn't they keep this wealth when they needed it the most, as they were facing a much larger army than themselves? The response to all these perplexing questions is that these Muslims obeyed God and followed his injunctions in the Quran. God commands you people to return things entrusted to you to their rightful owners, and if you judge between people, to do so with justice. God's instructions to you are excellent, for he hears and sees everything. The Christians of Syria preferred the Muslim rule over the oppressive Byzantines, as the Muslims had brought justice and good governance. Moreover, after the Muslims defeated the Byzantine army and returned to Syria, they were welcomed back as heroes. Dionysius confirms this. So the Arabs left Damascus and pitched camp by the river Yarmouk. As the Romans marched towards the Arab camp, every city and village on their way which had surrendered to the Arabs shouted threats at them. As for crimes the Romans committed on their passage, they are unspeakable, and their unseemliness ought not even to be brought to mind. The Arabs returned elated with their great victory to Damascus, and the Damascenes greeted them outside the city and welcomed them joyfully, and all treaties and assurances were reaffirmed. One cannot imagine the conquered welcoming the conqueror joyfully, yet it happened in Syria once upon a time. Egypt saved from Byzantine persecution. Like Syria, Egypt was also governed by the Byzantines. The ruling Byzantine Church was utterly opposed to doctrinal dissent. The Egyptians were mostly Jacobite Christians and did not agree with the Byzantine version of Christianity. The result of this disagreement was heavy persecution at the hands of the ruling elite. The eminent British Orientalist and historian Thomas Arnold summarized the situation as follows. The Jacobites, who formed the majority of the Christian population, had been very roughly handled by the orthodox adherents of the court and subjected to indignities that have not been forgotten by their children even to the present.